been, well, it's an inevitable sale. We knew that 9 years ago. The only delays were basically how we obtained the property unlawfully, and that's been proven. Now it's time to, we're probably missed the height of the market. But then we had a whole bunch of lollygagging around, in my opinion, using an RFP. You know, I used to teach real estate, sell real estate years ago. Yeah, I just put it on I had my appraisal put in the open market, and not lollygag around with RFPs. You know, whoever comes up with money, we have enough regulations in place, you know, to justify anything that they do, and if it doesn't meet our regulations, we don't have to accept it. What I find disturbing is every time we meet on this subject, it seems to escalate. You know, we have people who are preying on people's fears, their ethnicity, putting words in their mouth. These are the manipulators. But, you know, this is normal human behavior. You know, we've got politicians, and, you know, this is why I don't have a lot of emotions anymore. You want to try to manipulate me? Good luck. Ain't gonna happen. So I say, sell the property if whoever wants to buy it, or, well, we have an offer. But, you know, in real estate, sometimes transactions don't work out. They fall apart in escrow. I've been around long enough, a lot of them fall apart in escrow for various reasons. So hold your breath, and I tell you, you're gonna be okay. I have lost a lot of stuff, but I have always come back. In fact, in some cases, I'm really glad I did, because it made me stronger, smarter, and I went on to do better things. So don't look at these things as such a depressing thing, and listen to the people who are going to manipulate you and use you for political and personal agendas. And that is what I've been seeing. So with that, you know I don't like crowds, so I'll be outside somewhere. Thank you.
So for context, they're doing public comment in regards to selling the land that holds some CTEC Center businesses. And this is our group. So they're giving them 10 minutes as a group. So Anila's going to speak for the entire business community that's going to stand behind her, and others who couldn't be here tonight.
Good evening, council members. As you know, my name is Anila, and I have been here through several meetings with all of you, and on behalf and working with the community, the immigrant businesses that are directly impacted here by the decision that you will be making today. And we want to make sure you see the faces of the individuals, the direct business owners themselves and their families who will be directly impacted by the decision you make. And I understand that you guys have said that you have not been hearing, we've heard some people say you have not been hearing from the business owners themselves or the immigrant businesses themselves. That is simply not true. The business owners have taken time out of their schedule repeatedly for meeting after meeting after meeting, showing up every single time to try to talk to you all and get their voices heard. And they are standing here right now to make sure that you see them, that you hear them, and that you recognize that although I am the one speaking on their behalf, it is with the support and voice of every single one of the immigrant business owners who are here today. As you also know, the immigrant businesses that make up CTEC Center, there are over 50 of them who will be directly impacted by this decision that you guys are making tonight. And we want to make sure you know that for the past 7 months through this whole process that we agree has been difficult, has been challenging, has at times unfortunately been contentious, and we wish that was not the case. We wish we would have an opportunity to sit down with the city of CTEC, with all of you as council members who are trying to fulfill your duties and your responsibility, and really talk about how to create a win-win-win solution. A solution that addresses the needs of the immigrant businesses rather than displaces them, that addresses the needs of the wider community here in the CTEC area and beyond, including the immigrant infrastructure that is the lifeblood of the city, the very people who have been here for more than 20 years, building up the city of CTEC and creating it to what it is today. A market that is visited by people all over the state of Washington, as well as Oregon, Idaho, and other places as well. People from all kinds of diverse backgrounds show up to shop, eat, enjoy, and build community at this market. And I'm actually saddened to hear that some of you council members, despite the invitation, have not even taken the opportunity to go visit the SeaTac Center, because you would see the thriving business community that exists there and the co-networks that exist with the various immigrant businesses who have really had a compelling story. A story of overcoming such trauma and difficulty, coming here, living the American dream, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and really building a thriving community that actually benefits all of the city of SeaTac. So we wished you would have taken up that opportunity to actually visit the center, the businesses, and the people whose lives are going to be directly impacted by the decision that you guys are going to make tonight. I also want to clarify that there's another misconception that has been floating around, that these businesses somehow are against development or against any and all sales. That also is simply not true. The reality is that these businesses want to work with you as a city and as council members to find a solution that, again, is win-win-win. Creative solutions that can improve the life for everybody, including all of City of SeaTac residents. But and to that end, they even submitted a proposal in response to the RFP. As you know, the other one besides this private developer was directly from the SeaTac Coalition. So they proposed a development plan to all of you. That was rejected. But in the process of you rejecting that, and even at the point of the RFP, all of you made it clear, either directly or in private conversations, that you guys want to support the immigrant businesses, that you want to find a way to uphold an international market, and in fact, you are sitting on $1.2 million to be used toward an international market, and that $1.2 million will be lost with this purchase and sale agreement. That is a loss to the immigrant businesses, to the immigrant community, and to the entire city of SeaTac. And that $1.2 million is simply the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other potential for state and national grants that the community has expressed their interest and desire to work with you to find other funding as well, to help build an international market or a place where these businesses are not displaced, where these businesses are not devastated in terms of losing their livelihood, losing their financial sustainability, affecting their entire families, and having to potentially even become a charge to the city of SeaTac and to the state of Washington. None of us want that. That is a solution that is actually a horrible solution, and we would hope that all of you, as the esteemed council members that you are, would keep that in mind and look for a way to, again, sit down and find a way to get a creative win-win solution. That is what we have been asking for from the very beginning. That is what the business owners really want. I also want to address two other misconceptions that have been raised. One has been the suggestion that somehow we are misrepresenting the legacy or taking advantage of the legacy of our dear community leader and your fellow SeaTac council member who died, Amina Ahmed, who died tragically on Saturday. There could be nothing further from the truth. In fact, this community was so close to Amina. They saw her as a leader. They saw her as a voice for them on the city council. They were ecstatic when she was actually appointed to the city council. And they had also conversations with her. I know you guys did as well. But the point is, unfortunately, because she is gone now, we don't know what her wishes would have been or how she would have voted tonight. However, in our mind, there is no doubt that she would not have thrown her community under the bus. She would not have devastated. She would not have devastated their livelihoods. That is something she would not have done. She was in favor of development, just like these immigrant businesses are. So that's the reality, and to suggest that we are somehow exploiting her tragedy in this kind of way is just an allegation that is just sickening, honestly. The reality is that if she were here, we think she would stand with the immigrant community in trying to find a way to have a win-win-win solution. And finally, to the extent that the earlier speaker, Earl, and others have suggested in some way that there is some personal or political agenda that others have, there is no such agenda. The agenda we have is a thriving SeaTac city with the immigrant community members being part of it, with the businesses being part of it. This is something that you you guys have expressed an interest in doing as well before, through the RFP process, when you reassured the community that you would not be moving forward, that you are interested in an international community and you would be supporting that. And many of you made personal pledges as well. And yet we are seeing something here today that is completely contrary to that. And I also want to add that the community right now is in a mourning period. This whole procedure and scheduling this special meeting less than 5 days since Amina was killed, when the community is still in shock and in grief, is simply heartbreaking, wrong, and unacceptable. This is something that should never have happened. We were grateful to you. We expressed that appreciation, the community did, when you guys took this agenda item off of the city council meeting from Tuesday. We never had any clue that you would be so disrespectful to actually then put it 48 hours later. A week has not even passed since Amina's death, and to have that happen, that is just simply unfortunate. And we really hope that we can find a way to move forward together to address the concerns. And if you sign or if you approve this purchase and sale agreement today, what happens is you put the city in the place of potentially facing legal liability if you change your mind later, if you find another creative idea, if something else that's a win-win option, as some have already been suggested, are proposed, that the short-sightedness of trying to push this through today could actually put the city and hurt the entire city of SeaTac. You'd be selling this for $15 million when you could potentially be making a lot more than $15 million a year. That is something that is unfortunate for the entire city of SeaTac, and we would hope that you would please hold off on that. There's no real need to push this through in this kind of way, procedurally or substantively, and we really hope that you will take that into account and instead talk about ways to create more funding for the entire city to, again, benefit the entire city, benefit the immigrant community, save these immigrant businesses that are being devastated now, and find a way to do that, because we believe that is possible. The immigrant businesses have been coming meeting after meeting to try to make that a reality, and we urge you this final last time to please vote no on this purchase and sale agreement, to even postpone this meeting or this vote until the January meeting at the very least. And to make it clear that you are willing to sit down with the immigrant businesses to talk about how to give them a voice and come up with creative solutions together. That's the kind of public good that we believe you are in a position to uphold and to do. You are in a position of public service, and we recognize the importance of that, and we hope you will fulfill your service commitment with the public, with the impacted parties here in the city of SeaTac, with all of them. And to make it clear, they do want development. They want development that is helpful to the entire city, including all of these immigrant business families that will be directly impacted by a purchase and sale agreement that explicitly does not even mention or recognize the immigrant businesses or have any kind of mandate on the developer or the city to even include them in any conversation. Their voice has been silenced, and to suggest that they can go negotiate directly with a developer in a completely unequal power balance when there is no responsibility or legal liability on the developer to actually engage in honest negotiations, that is simply unbelievable as well. We really, really do, despite some of the views that some of you have had that this has been contentious or that the community has been strongly vocal or anything else, we really are sincere in the desire to work with all of you as city council members to do what we believe Amina would have wanted to do, to fulfill that legacy, and to do it in a positive way that actually improves and builds on the relationships between government and the people that are being governed, as opposed to creating the situation of animosity, of contentiousness, of silencing the voices of those most directly impacted. We think it is important for you to please vote no on this purchase and sale agreement, or at least postpone the vote until January to allow time and opportunity for discussions.
Wow, you're good. Because I was just going to say, I keep seeing the red light. Thank you, everyone. So I was going to ask everybody, let's all have a seat and we'll continue our public comments. There are a few more people who would like to be heard tonight. Thank you.
Oh, you're fine.
Mohammed Roble, did I say it correctly? You are up next. Are you representing just yourself tonight? Okay, so so you'll have 3 minutes. So, thank you.
Just I want to ask, because I agree with Anila, what she said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Ayanle Ismail. Ayanle Ismail, are you here? Am I saying it correctly? A-Y-A-N-L-E?
Yeah, we're good. Pass on. He's not here.
Okay, thank you. Alex Fox. Welcome.
Thank you. It's actually Alex Fair.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. I was asked to read a letter of support written in August by King County Council member Dave Upton. Thank you for the important work you're doing as City Council to balance competing interests as your city continues to grow and change. Like other South King County cities, SeaTac is benefiting from economic development and infrastructure improvements as growth moves south out of Seattle. From a regional viewpoint, I'm growing more concerned about unintended gentrification that can result from a rapid growth and development, which is otherwise a positive for our community. As neighborhoods throughout South King County see development and public, that desirability is reflected in higher costs. Housing becomes more expensive. As a result, many local residents and businesses find themselves economically displaced. I'm ready to offer my support, efforts, and strategies the city can employ to minimize economic displacement and allow people of all economic backgrounds to continue to live and work in South King County. I value economic diversity in a community given correlations between income and race. I believe these decisions also impact cultural and racial diversity, which I also value in a community. While land use decisions are clearly within the sole jurisdiction of city governments, the decisions impact our shared constituents. This challenge is not unique to SeaTac. Other South King County cities are facing these economic tensions, and the decisions collectively shape how we respond to growth as a region. To that end, I want to specifically offer my conceptual support to the SeaTac Communities Coalition's proposal for the SeaTac Center purchase and redevelopment, which I believe the purchase of property for international public market holds promise as a model which could be economically sustainable for very small business owners with limited capital and modest monthly margins. It could also be an exciting regional draw. Think about Pike Place Market. To be enjoyed by hotel guests and residents alike. Should the City Council choose to pursue the development of a public international market, I will stand willing to help identify ways King County can be a meaningful funding partner. I would just close with saying that I think you all know there are a lot of different government agencies that also would like to help see this happen. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Chuck, are you out there? There you are.
Hi, Chuck Darielli, SeaTac. I'm a 50-year resident here. And I appreciate all the people from Seattle, Erie, and Federal Way, wherever, coming to speak about our little city here. But the bottom line is, the city is not a good landlord. I mean, it's been proven over and over and over. The city needs to encourage the city to sell this property, let the new investors. It's nothing against these people. I mean, I have nothing against these people, but let the new investors run their business and set them up, and taxpayers shouldn't be landlords. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Teresa Klein. Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Teresa Klein, and I am a lifelong resident of Western Washington. I'm a small business owner. I'm a real estate investor, and I am a landlord, and I am here today to ask you not to approve the sale of SeaTac Center. I'm a big believer in the promise that this country is a place where everyone can be entrepreneurial, work hard, and succeed. The businesses at SeaTac Center are a beautiful example of how that can work to everyone's benefit. SeaTac's vibrant economy is nourished by the interplay between immigrant-run businesses at SeaTac Center and their customer base, many of whom who work at the airport. Have you ever heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Well, this is exactly what you would be doing if you approve a transaction. You'd be fixing an economic ecosystem that's anything but broken and displacing industrious business owners and their customers in the process. Now, some have suggested that there's an outside agenda at play here, and they are correct. The outside agenda is that of a Chicago-based real estate developer. You were elected to serve the people of SeaTac, so why are you selling this property to an out-of-state developer when there are businesses right here in SeaTac that want to build and serve the local economy? Finally, as we are entering the Christmas season, I think it's very important to consider the message that we send when we create adverse conditions for everyday people so that large businesses can make more money. Jesus was born in a manger because his parents were told there was no room at the inn for people such as themselves. Is displacing these businesses in favor of bigger companies, are we not saying the same thing to them in the communities that they serve? Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please do not allow this transaction to go forward.
Hamdi Mohammed?
Good evening, council members. I feel like I've been up here so many times. I am really tired. This is a time where our community is supposed to be grieving and spending time together. Now I'm coming back here and pleading with you guys over and over again to hold something, to hold this decision. It is frustrating. Think about it. Think about what you guys are doing to each and every one of these people out here. You guys always say there's 28,000 folks who live in SeaTac, and we have to represent everybody in SeaTac. Guess what? That also includes them. They are part of that 28,000, and they ought to be respected. And if you don't know them individually, you guys knew Amina Ahmed. She was a part of this community. And you guys ought to hold this decision based off of that. Act with compassion, act with love. That is what public service is about. You know, Pam, Councilmember Pam, I remember this.
Hamdi, please do not address any particular council members tonight.
One of the council members said the other night that, you know, you guys don't want to set a precedent here of, you know, changing your agenda. Setting a precedent of acting with compassion and love is the right precedent. Yes. That is what you want to set. That's the same. Those are the examples you guys want to show. You guys are community leaders. You guys are role models. And we are members of this community. We are members of SeaTac. And I'm asking you, as a resident, I live on 176th Street. I know often we think a lot of the folks that come out are not residents of this community. I live on 176th Street, 5 minutes away from here. I am a resident, and I love my community. And I'm asking you, as a resident of SeaTac, please hold this decision. Don't even vote on it. Cancel this meeting. Christmas is coming up. You guys have holidays and things to celebrate. Wait until the new year. Let's deal with this some other time. Not in the middle, or not emotional like I am up here right now. That's what I ask you guys to do.
Abdi Hirsi. Welcome.
Hello. I prepared a little, very small note, but I don't want to read this note. I want to speak from my heart. I would like you to look those people, the business owners, where they come from, how did they get here, how they struggled to establish a business, how long it took them, how they support their families and their lives, how they pay their duties by paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of the business owners are females, as you can see. Some of them are childbearing age. They have children. Some of them have small children. Some of them move their families as close to the business as they could, because they have small children, babies at home, so that they can talk to the next door business person and say, hey, I have to run and go home to breastfeed my baby, can you watch my store? So that they can go home and prepare a meal for their children. I don't know what your background, what your backgrounds are. I don't know what you know about being an immigrant, coming to this country, having many struggles, coming out of those struggles and establishing a business, your livelihood, and then all of a sudden, your own city, your own city council says, you know what? Whatever you have done for yourself, for your families, it ends here. Our priority is to have as big a revenue for the city as possible. That's what you are facing tonight. I would like you to put yourself in the shoes of those people. I hear, I'm sorry, I know it's, if you could give me 1 more minute or something.
Yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
finish your thought, and thank you.
Okay, I hear community development. Is there a community? First, let me ask which community? Is that a community that's coming in the future? Is that a community that struggled more than this community to become what they have become, to build what they have built? If the community you're talking about is money and revenue, please reconsider. Please don't ignore this.
Our next speaker is Jordan with a G. I'm not going to kill your last name, I'm sorry.
It's okay, my last name is Goldwarg, Jordan Goldwarg.
Just like it's spelled.
Yep, it's
There you
okay.
go. Thank you.
I live in Seattle. This is the first time I've ever testified at any city council meeting anywhere. And I felt called to come down and testify today to urge you to vote no on the sale of the CTAC Center. I am friends with Amina's daughter, and so there's a personal connection for me. But more than that, I also am an immigrant, and I arrived in the United States a number of years ago, became a citizen finally after many, many years, a little less than 2 years ago. And at a time when immigrants have the deck stacked against them in every way possible in this country, and when immigrants are constantly being attacked in so many different ways, I find it really shocking that a city here in our part of the country, in Western Washington, would be further exacerbating that problem rather than standing up and supporting immigrants. And more than that, at a time when our region is facing such economic stress and the risk of displacement is so high for so many communities of color, I'm again shocked that the city would do something to further exacerbate that problem and risk displacing even more people of color and even more immigrants. So I really urge you to vote no on this proposal. From everything that I've read, as I've been following the story, it seems like there are other proposals that could better serve this community, better serve the immigrant business owners, and that could serve our region as a whole in a much better way. So please vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
Sam McBee. Okay, did I get it? I felt brave after the last one. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Sam McBee, and I'd like the council to consider a bit of history where wealth has repeatedly been destroyed and stolen from communities of color through redlining that the government has supported through its board of credit agencies. And you can draw a straight line from those actions to this, where you're taking thriving business owners and you're almost certainly displacing them. And with the benefit of retrospect, we look back on the practice of redlining and we find it abhorrent. And so I just ask, will the council consider how history will view you?
Speaker Sue Joskol.
Hi, my name is Sue Doskal. I live at 173rd Military Road, and I'm speaking as a resident of SeaTac, also on behalf of my organization, Radical Women, who wanted to give our support to our sisters who have worked so hard to create their businesses that all of us who live here enjoy. You'll destroy people's lives, you'll also destroy the culture of the city. There's nowhere else where you can get sambusas that are that good.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where you can get chicken tiki pizza.
Okay.
And beautiful clothing. And I mean, I hope you've been there shopping. I go there regularly. And finally, I want to say that I really think that a publicly owned shopping mall there that the residents own and take care of and thrive is in the interests of the residents of this city. I think you're selling out the residents of SeaTac if you adopt this sale.
My name is Adam Zinkowski. I'm here on behalf of Seattle City Council member Shama Sawant. In August, Shama sent a letter to SeaTac City Council members, which I think it's important to read right now. It says, "Dear SeaTac City Council members, I am outraged with your plans to sell the publicly owned land currently occupied by more than 50 immigrant-owned small businesses to a private for-profit developer. I join community members in our movement in protesting this attempt by the city to enrich private developers at the expense of small businesses, working people, and immigrant families. By uprooting these small businesses, you are undermining a critical cultural center at the heart of our community. Also, you will damage the livelihoods of all the families that rely on those businesses. For years, the residents of seedling communities have relied on the shops in the Bokaro Mall, the International Market, Pabla Punjabi Palace, and other small local businesses in the groceries and many other vital goods to the community. They employ family members and neighbors. This proposed sale of public lands to a private developer comes at a time when SeaTac and the region as a whole is facing an acute housing affordability crisis. Large swaths of working, increasingly small businesses, have been at the receiving end of gentrification and economic eviction. Rather than sell the land to a private developer who will maximize profits by gentrifying the property and increasing rents beyond the reach of small businesses and working people, the city of SeaTac should retain the land in public ownership. The city will work with community members and to develop a mixed-use project, publicly owned and controlled, that will guarantee occupancy to the current small businesses and will include dozens of permanently affordable housing units. So in this period, when big developers and real estate corporations are displacing communities in our areas at stunning rates, including in Seattle. The SeaTac community needs a major expansion of social housing.